Performance flatlined until you catch the federal feral lives. Now there's a fire igniting. Who could ignore the growing heat? Can we now claim just who's to blame with the fire at our very feet? Now the elephants are dancing. Look how he prances in the coals, the comedy of tragedy, an assembly of fools. Ignore them and be trampled. Run and it stampedes. The only recourse is to find resource to recognize and act upon your need. We beg you to examine this example of our journey through the mire. Alice will turn its very course around and learn how to inspire, learn from hard-won lessons, and you too have a chance to address your lurking elephants and teach them.
So when I hired Gary, first of all, he just wanted the job. And so I got him into the school and I asked him, I've been assigned a mission. I just had come from central office again and had to do lunch duties again. And so I was getting into this idea that I had to discover what's going on in this school because it was not performing at all. We were on the brink of jumping to 100%, having the government come in, typical experts come in and tell us what to do. And so we were sitting there saying, what is going on with this? Why is this happening? So we started a mission. And I asked him, can you find the elephant in this classroom? Just can you find it? So with that, we came up with our idea that there's got to be a way to take a look at elephants, regardless of what they are, and get them to dance. Elephants are great animals. They are fantastic. They're brave. They have a tremendous amount of memory. They never forget anything. And when they become dancers, they're your best allies. Everything that you do with them helps. So, the key to dancing with your elephant is get them to dance. That's key number one. And in so doing, don't get trampled. We had to learn that. We had to learn that because you can get too many dancers and then you're trampled because too many things are going on. So you have to be very selective. So, if you didn't do that, oops, here comes a stampede. They're all coming at you. All right? So I was assigned to Jump to Guard Middle School. I've been high school principals. I have been an administrator in a variety of things for 22 years. And I was assigned to go back into this school and say, turn it around. Figure out how to turn this school around. And I was up for the challenge. I knew I was about ready to retire. And I said, let's just try it. You're going to go out on a good one or they'll just kick you out. One of the two. When I hit that school, I had a tremendous amount of elephants. They were lurking everywhere. It was amazing how many elephants we had. So, in the conversations, we started to choose wisely. And one of the things that I learned is key number 2, to get an elephant to dance or get your elephants to dance, 1, you have to prioritize. Which elephant you're going to go. Discover. You had to watch. You had to listen. And the most important part was don't get in a hurry. Now you're going to get to experience this hurriness from my passionate teacher and colleague here. Because when he gets on a roll, he has got tons of energy. But he's not.
He made me sit here.
That's right, he's sitting. Yeah.
Move around.
He is the epitome of all the passion that comes at us. Okay? He's not the elephant. He's kind of like the zookeeper. So when we found we could do that, we just put to use. The biggest elephant that I found at Jump to Guard Middle School is they had no idea why they were teaching, what they were teaching, and what their results were. None. Not one staff member could tell me on a one-to-one or a department chair meeting or any type of a meeting, PLC, they could not tell me what they were trying to do. So I flipped them. I said, okay, we're going in to a multi-tiered intervention. You all know that term. You all know what it's about. That's why you're here. It has been around forever. But you have to practice it. So you had to flip these elephants to start dancing with this. They concentrated everything on tier 1. They didn't even know what that description was. They had no idea what a tier 3 student was because they never saw them. Where are they? They're segregated out. We stopped that. Sorry. You're getting them all. They're all coming to your classroom. So you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And then we put into action the things that we could do to work on the tier 2 and the tier 3 students so that they could become tier 1 students. We flipped the model. This model was given to me by a very close colleague. And whenever you look at this triangle and other research, you always find that it's the other way around. Programs at the top, you got your outcome at the bottom. We just said, we're going to do this differently. You're going to tell us why you're teaching, and what your outcome is going to be. And then you're going to tell us how you're screening for awareness on that and making sure they know what they're learning and can prove to you that they've learned. You're going to learn every diagnostic tool that we can give you, and as you work your way through. It was amazing that I had a herd sitting in the back of the room that said, no, it ain't going to happen. They were the ones that we got to dance right away. And they're the ones that told us to come. They bought in because it made sense to them. Why it made sense is they don't have to teach anymore this program from page 1 to page 150. That's gone. I just released them of that burden. Well, you're going to get in trouble with the superintendent. That was an elephant that I discovered real easy, that was real easy to get to dance. I said, sure, I'll go to Jump to Guard. You give me 5 years. I'll get in there, I'll work my tail off, I'll figure out what's going on. But you got to support me. You have to dance behind me. Every time I make a decision of a certain kind, you have to dance. She said she would. We both retired at the same time. Okay. Maybe there was pressure now. But we just flipped that model. So we realigned that assessment. This was one of the biggest elephants. And that's all we did. We just got them to think a different way. There's a lot more detail, and we can't do that in an hour. I'll tell you how we did that and all the processes we went through. The other big elephant, Jump to Guard had a police car at its door for 3 years straight, almost 24/7. Those kids were totally out of control. They were not out of control because they weren't being youth and didn't have energy. They were out of control because there was no consistency. The biggest elephant that was going on is 32 teachers, 32 different expectations, 32 different ways of dealing with expectations. So the first time I got there, there was close to 4,000 office referrals, we call them BRFs. My dean at that time and myself were dealing with all of this. They were coming at us left and right. Yeah, I was getting a lot of time in the classroom. 4,000 referrals were flying across my desk. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've never experienced that in all my years.
Dr. C, I like that. I long-term sub there. That's why I got the job. My first year long-term sub, I told my wife I didn't want to work at that school. I took the first job that was offered because it's hard to find a teaching job. But there were kids climbing out of windows, and it was really hard to be a sub there. And, you know, it was just a mess. 4,000 office referrals. That's, if you think about that, that's 40,000. If you just give 10 minutes for an office referral, just 10 minutes for getting out of classroom educational time, you're talking 40,000 minutes. It's almost 100 days. That's not just 100 days of the kid not learning. It's 100 days of the principal and admin and school taking time out where they should be working, walking through classes, sitting there talking to kids. This was a major issue, and I just want to say it sounds almost unbelievable to have 4,000 BRFs, but it was even more amazing to watch 13-year-olds walking out in handcuffs.
Yeah. So in that process, we found elephants within our behavior system. So I got a team together, we got into PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention System, we adopted it. That was going to be our elephant changer. We gave the research, we showed them that if your behavior goes up, your academics goes up. It's proven over and over and over again. And they said, sure, but I found an elephant in there that I didn't know existed until it started hitting me. We went through those 4,000 BRFs, and what did we find? Half of them were over hats and gum. And I went, what? So I danced. I said, I'm the elephant. I'll take care of it. There is no more, you can all wear hats. You can all chew gum. You have to take care of it at school. If I find gum, I'm going to take it away from you, but you need to know. Teachers, you want them to wear a hat? Great. You don't want them to wear a hat? Tell them when they hit your door, they can't wear the hat in your door. But we're not going to have any more referrals about hats and gum. You cut it in half, first year. Just that. Then we started finding out the other little elephants. As it kept growing, you can see the trend just kept going down. My last year there was nothing. I was having very few referrals. What was the real trend is each trimester that we tried this, we were on trimester systems, we found that it kept decreasing. The first trimester is always the toughest because you're getting new kids coming in, you're trying to show them the expectations, but we had it all set up. They loved it. I loved it. I hate lunch duty, but when I got into the VPS, I got to do some things with kids that I never did before. So we gave them out cards. We call them ABC cards. You can call them anything you want. They got them for being in Tier 1 academically. Excuse me, Tier 1 academically. Tier 1 expectations. They were shown as positive behavior. They were given cards. They got rewards. You got to get in the line. See, there was another element. Kids were cutting in line, getting in trouble. Another BRF. What? Earn a card, get in line free. They're fun. All those kids accepted it. You got a card, you can get ahead of me. Good. Skip lines. Now you have a reason to skip lines. You don't have to be walking around. All of that started to happen. In these rewards, they came. Early releases, lunch at the lunch, cut lines, student stores, pizzas. The best thing, I am an iPad guy. So I had all these 6,000 songs on my iPad. You had to give me 2 cards. I'd play any song you wanted, as long as the language was good.
I think one of the keys too, we realized is we were focused on punishing bad behavior. Not really good behavior. Seems like a small thing, but you have to flip it. You have to say, I'm not going to look at this triangle this way. There's got to be another way.
It was just amazing. Within that period of time, we flipped the whole school in 2 years just with that elephant dancing. Just that elephant dancing along with the other elephant, the school flipped. Now, Eric's going to talk a little bit about the language arts component of this, but we were doing it in math. And then I said to all my science department and my social studies department, you will follow this and you will be teachers of this as well, because these kids are coming to you. So if you think you're out of it because we don't do language arts and we don't do math, sorry. You do it all. Writing was the big one. The reason we scored high in our state in writing real fast is we flipped all these kids so they could write. And they had to write in every subject, including PE. Because I'm an old PE teacher, we don't have time to write. Yeah, you do. And we're going to write. So we did that. So with that comes Eric's personal decision.
Yeah, so when I first got the job, it was a 0.6, meaning I was only 6% of the time. It was a Title I job. I didn't really know what a Title I job even was. I'm a writer and a reader. I love teaching, so I was like, sure, sign me up. And then I realized as I sat down, one thing for sure, behavior was completely ridiculous. I didn't know who the kids were. I didn't know why they were in my classroom. And I didn't really know how to reach them. I had gone through 4 years of school and I had my master's degree and I had all these strategies and unit plans and lesson plans. And I realized I was in a zoo and I was in a jungle and I didn't know, were these kids at-risk readers? What was the situation? So we can go to the next slide here. That's kind of what I looked at and found at. I just had a bunch of elephants. I didn't know who these kids were, and I guarantee you I looked just like that too. All right, I was the other elephant. Who are these kids? That's when I learned that, you guys all know this anyway, if you're at a Title I school, you need to rank order your kids. You need to find, you can't just pick the kids you want to put in intervention. I think there was, not on purpose, but I think a lot of the kids that started there, it was accidentally becoming like a behavior modification room, like because you're struggling for whatever reason you're in this class. But what we wanted to do is identify at-risk readers, at-risk writers. So I kind of like this cartoon. if you ever get a chance to use the Pixton app, I'm going to give them a plug there because it's really fun. The kids love this stuff. So are these at risk? Are these at-risk kids? I mean, they could be, right? People who've been in the classroom, you've seen this, right? They're taking their test. If they fail this test, they're going to be unscreened and enrolled in my class. They're going to be at-risk readers. It comes back to what Dr. C is going to speak again, that tier 1-3 triangle.
Well, what we did is we said to everybody, you have to do this. This is what everybody is going to be working on. As a faculty, everybody is adopting this model. You're going to focus all your attention to get every kid that you touch to tier 1. Now, you all know, you've been in the business long enough to know, tier 3 to tier 1, that's a big jump. We took tier 2 kids, and every year that we started this process, we moved 80% of them across. They're fence setters. They have the skill, you just have to show them the expectation. You have to show them what you want them to do. You have to praise what they're doing. You have to focus their attention on certain things that are going to make them successful in every classroom. And once you do that, and their behavior starts to climb to the good side, all of a sudden, Darth Vader doesn't exist anymore. Star Wars is here. Here they come. And they just flip over. They just keep flipping over. And we started moving, what was it? We were moving tier 3 kids. We were probably not that 80% range. We were probably doing close to 40% at a time because we had some real strugglers. I mean,
we're going to look into that in just a second. There's a couple big elephants that, here was the first elephant. What are these kids doing in my classroom? We were using, I finally figured it out because the Director of Special Services came and I was like, okay, what exactly is a Title I job? And what am I supposed to be doing? Because what I'm doing isn't working and I don't know who these kids are. We have the MSP in Washington. You guys all come from different states, and MSP is basically major student progress, so 400 being a benchmark. You can see from the chart here, we were using 2007 protocol for 2009 rank order because by the time the MSP got in, it was already the next year. So the closest accurate information we could have was 2 years old. So that's what we were putting kids in. So one of the first things we did was go out and say, we need to have a real progress monitoring and bench monitoring system.
Before he explains that, I have to tell you, that was an elephant that was across the whole district. We had to go to the district office and say, look, this is ridiculous. You're giving us 2-year-old data and we're trying to put these kids into their best spots to learn and get them ready for high school. Come on, middle school, what's the big job in middle school? Take care of drama and get them ready for high school. All right, that's the 2 big issues, and you got to do it fast because you only got 3 years. And Eric and his team said, well, this is the data we need. So this is
then we'll go into that, the progress monitor we selected a little bit later here. But as you can see, we moved from that. This is how we currently rank order. We look at fluency, then we do vocabulary tests. Once we see for kids that are at risk in those areas, we can do a comprehensive. We also use SRI, which if you don't know is a student reading index. It's a Lexile. So it's like text complexity. And by doing this, we can triangulate. Just like if you were sailing in a fog bank or navigating a jungle, you can't just use one waypoint. So this makes it really accurate. Now you can see the assignments. We assign some kids extra reading to resolve conflict because a lot of kids that are struggling with reading struggle with math. So that elephant was, you can't put a kid, well, sometimes we do, but a math intervention and a reading intervention. So when we get audited, because you do get audited, we seem to get audited all the time, you have this, you can prove why these kids are here, why they're not, why exactly the rank order system. And you can see at the bottom, very last one, it says parent. We don't, there's our CBM, we use Easy CBM, this is our progress monitor here, you can see that's basically what I'm looking at constantly when I'm rank ordering. But we take the onus. It used to be like, well, your kid's at risk, we should put them in extra reading. How does that sound? Well, a kid doesn't want to do extra reading. Kids have to box it, they want to do. So what we did is we flipped that too, and we put you in extra reading. And here's a letter that you take home. We call the parent, we send the letter home. Here's the numbers, this is the rationale. Any questions at all, please call us. If you don't want your child enrolled in Title Services, write us a letter back saying that you received this letter and you have this information and you are making the choice. We took the choice away and said, we're going to be aggressive in our rank order protocol. And most parents know their kids struggle, and they want that support. And if they don't, we have the documentation for when we get audited why that kid's not in. So, you know, we basically just flipped that one. We can look quickly at the next slide.
Just a minute, let's catch one more point. This tool that they discovered that they wanted to use, there are multiple tools out there that do this. We use the EasyCVM. We spent over, the first year, 60% of our PD with our faculty over this tool. Because it wasn't just Eric and his team that was going to deal with this protocol. Every teacher in the building had to know how to do it, how to use it. When we were audited twice. I brought those teachers in along with the team. Because they had to explain how did it work in social studies? How did it work in science? All of a sudden, they were dancing. Because they had to know those kids. They had to know them well. So that was an interesting component because that next element hit where the team came up with this idea. And it was a great idea.
Yeah, we just want to touch on all the stuff will be available. We have an Edmodo, our user group page at the very end. So if you're interested in looking at the parent letters or downloading them, you can have all. The only thing you can't have are my friend's elephants that you do because we wouldn't give those away. But all the stuff that if you need to want to look at these exit forms, any of this stuff will be available to you, and you'll see that at the end of the presentation. But this is just a sample entry exit form that we use.
But the word exit up there is important. That was an elephant. Usually what happened, and you guys all know it, you assign a kid into an intervention. And they're there. They don't get to move. We told every kid, you go into the intervention. You show us you can perform. We exit you. You're back out. If you need to come back, we'll bring you back in. But we need your empty seat because we got other kids that need help. So all of a sudden, it was okay to go to intervention. I get a double map. All right.
Yeah, that was really a big elephant because it's like, well, a kid can't come in the middle of the trimester. Where are we going to put them? And I talked to the special services. We just had this conversation the other day because a lot of these elephants we're still working with. You know, the teachers are like, well, I don't want a kid to come in the middle of the trimester. They got to come trimester beginning, trimester. Well, what happens if the kid moves to your school? Do you wait for the trimester to start? Do you wait for the quarter to end before you put them in school? So it was, and you know.